Okay, the next topic is control flow. Okay, how do you control the flow of execution? So if you have several lines of code, and if they are all in the same level, then Python will execute the first line and then move down to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and so on. But if you want to control the flow, there are several ways in which we can do that. So there is this if, elif, and else combination. And then we have for loops, then while loops, and then a pass where there is no action. Okay, so that's something that we sometimes will need, but not very common. So these three structures are very important. First, let's look at if, elif, and else combination. And it is very much like how it is used in Excel, except that you separate it out. In Excel, you will have if, and then within the parenthesis, you will specify the condition and what should be the value if the condition is true, and then comma followed by what should be the value if the condition is false. Right? So that's how the if function works in Excel. So it's similar to that, but here is how you structure it. Okay, suppose I'm going to write a very simple code. So x equal to 5, and then we're going to check whether x is positive or not. We know x is positive, but I want to use code for this. So if x is positive, then you do something. When x is not positive, you do something else, right? So you start with the condition. So you start with if and then specify the condition. When I type if, see the color of if changes. That's because that's a keyword. So it changes, and then say x is less than 0. So that is the condition, right? Now, to tell Python that that is the end of the condition, you have to specify a colon. So the colon tells Python, so that's the end of the condition. So condition starts right after the if keyword, and then Python will scan all the way till it encounters a colon. And if there is no colon, it's going to throw an error. Okay, so it will go through the line until it reaches a colon. So now it knows that this is the condition. If the condition has any syntax error, of course, that will throw an error too. But if the condition is a well-formed condition, then it's okay. So that's my condition. Then, now notice that when I press enter, the cursor is automatically indented. That's extremely important because Excel uses right and left parentheses, right, for what goes inside if. Other languages use different kinds of delimiters to say where the instructions start and where the instructions end. But here, the indented white space is what tells Python that, okay, so this is what you have to do if the condition is true, and whatever we type there will be the action that Python will perform. So say we want to say print. This is a simple thing. So we say print x is negative. Now if you want more than just that one line, okay, you want some more things to do if the condition is true, then you just press enter and continue with that same indentation. So yes. And so on. Okay, and you have more things, so you can keep on. You can have any number of lines of code here. Okay, now if you're done Okay, so that's it. Okay, if the condition is true, you do all this. Otherwise, no, just go on to the next line, right? In that case, you will go back here and you will start typing your other lines of code. So this means if x is less than 0, these two lines of code will be executed. If it is not true, then those two lines will be skipped because the condition is not true, and just move on to the next line. But if you want something to be done if the condition is false, okay, so then you have to do else. And once again, so see the color of else changes, and then you have a colon. Okay, so now this else goes with that if. And you see, once again, when you press enter, the cursor is automatically indented. Okay, so that indenting is extremely important. If you change the indent, you will have error. Okay, and if you have more code to execute if the condition is not true, so then again, like in the case of condition is false, then you can have any number of lines of code. And once you're done, then again, you backspace and then do the rest of the code. Okay. Now if you run, so the condition is not true, so that line is executed. And these two are skipped. Now if I make it -5, okay, and then run the code, then now this time both the condition is true, so these two lines of code are executed. Okay, so now we have covered if and else. What is this elif? Okay, elif is further conditions. Okay, let's say I'm going to copy paste this here. Okay, so now we know. So this is part when x is negative, right? So this part. Now if you want another condition, then you can say elif x is 0 and print x is 0. So now we are covering three different cases. X is negative, x is 0, and x is positive. So if x is negative, print x is negative, and if x is 0, then you say x is 0. Otherwise, if both conditions are not satisfied, then the remaining possibility is that it is negative. Okay. So that's what elif means. Elif attaches this condition to this original if. Okay. And also notice that I have two equal signs. Two equal signs indicates that we are not saying x is equal to 0, but we're just testing whether x is equal to 0. So testing for a condition. Okay, so well, let's change this to 0. Okay. So you have if condition and a colon, and then the indentations. Okay. If you only have if and else, or if you have only if, that's it, there is no else, then that's it. You end with that and proceed with the rest of the code. But if you have an else condition, then you have to back up and do else and colon and put the then give the code for that. Then if it is if there is a third condition, then you use the elif, and you can string as many elif inside. So nesting of elif, you can have any number of elifs you want. But you want to keep it simple, usually speaking. Okay.